Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Hi, I'm Jennie McCafferty for Michigan Golfer, and with us today is W. Bruce Matthews III, and Bruce is the third, so we're going to talk about the first, his grandfather, W. Bruce Matthews. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, he designed a bunch of courses, and there are at least two that he started and you finished. That had to be kind of a special project.
It is. It was. It was a lot of fun. It's to have a W. Bruce Matthews golf course.
Okay.
So.
There you go. So one of those was Brookshire? Tell us about Brookshire.
Brookshire Inn and Golf Club was Brookshire Inn and Country Club. My granddad did it in 1959, right after he did Forest Acres at Michigan State University. It was originally a 9-hole private club. The golf course was inside of a bend of the Red Cedar River. The private club was very viable until about the mid-'70s, and then fell on hard times. Went through a series of owners as a public course, and then Dave Mahaney, who was the present owner, got the course somewhere around 85 or 87 or somewhere like that, and wanted to build another 9 holes. He had a great eatery, and it still is a very good place to eat. Very good banquet center. But wanted another 9 holes to make it a better golf course. So he got the land across the street to the north, and we added 9 holes to my granddad's and remodeled my granddad's 9 so it would match my 9.
Well, it's tricky if you want to add another 9 to find that land. So if he had it, that's lucky.
Well, he went out and got the land. It was adjacent, and he was fortunate to have it. It was enough to build a good solid 9. So it was a lot of fun. Dave was very involved with the project from the start, all the way through construction. We had a local contractor, Chataway Excavating, do the work, and Dave, the owner, was in on it all the way. He was out riding the equipment and planting seeds, and then he'd get back into the restaurant later in the afternoon and run the operations for the restaurant.
What are some of the things you learned about your grandfather's design when you did that?
My grandfather's design is interesting. His greens usually have 3 or 4 mounds on the outside and then bleed in toward the center. They're very subtle depending. He started out very subtle back in the 20s, and he got a little bit more risque in the 60s. But not too for my granddad, but it was risque for him. So we did the golf course in the 80s, so again the mound work was much more prominent, and so I looked at his work, and we matched his greens. Our mound work was a little bit more prominent. I would go back and do his bunkers similar to my bunkers, which weren't too far off of what his. We're just putting a little more mass around the outside of the bunkers to make them look more aesthetic. So
really, there's some of each of you in that final design.
There's much of each of us. Much of each of us. When I go in for doing one of my granddad's work, it's an honor to work on one of his projects. Manistee Country Club out here, I've remodeled Manistee Country Club. This was his first golf course in Michigan.
It was his first one in Michigan. Oh, that's cool.
His first one in Michigan in 1929. Wow. So you're going around, you're thinking, what was he thinking in 1929? And you try to get into the architect's head, and then you say, well, he screwed up here, or he did great here. And you try to correct some things and accentuate others, and complement his original work.
To what extent did you know him?
My granddad?
Yeah.
Well, he lived right down the road from me when I was growing up. Yeah. It took me hunting. He took me bird hunting all the time, and he'd send me into a thicket of trees, and I'd flush the birds, and he'd be on the outside of the thicket of trees shooting the birds. Okay. I wasn't very smart back then.
Just hope
Yeah,
we didn't
yeah. And
get
I wrote,
away with that.
yeah, and I rode around with him on a couple of golf courses, and then my family owned Grand Haven Golf Course, now American Dunes, and of course I worked out there when I was a kid, and between my granddad and my dad, I saw both of them every day, so
Yeah.
I knew my granddad really quite well. I was very fortunate.
Oh, that's really cool. And another one that you both worked on was Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake in Beulah was just up the road from here.
Yeah.
He did Crystal Lake as a housing development in the 1960s.
Okay.
Jerry was helping him on the master planning of that.
Okay.
And he did it for Bryce Gibbs, who is a name that people come around 20 years later. We did Chocolate Downs for Bryce Gibbs up in Marquette.
Okay.
So, but he originally was at Crystal Lake. He sold it to Bob Reichel.
Okay.
Bob Reichel ran it for a number of years as a 9-hole golf course, wanted to run it, get it, build an 18 so he could sell it. He could get more money for an 18-hole course than you can for a 9. So our goal was to build an 18, add 9 holes. He did not want to spend a lot of money because it was because he was going to sell it.
Yeah.
So we did nice routing. Had fewer bunkers, which would lessen the cost of the course. But really put a nice 9 complimentary to my granddad's 9 there. I would go there once a week during construction and give Bob Reichel a list of things to do for the following week, and I'd come back and see if it was done, which it was every time, but he'd always say, "Did I get my A?" So that's fun on the always got a report card, and it was a running joke on that one is how'd my report card on this one.
Well, that's really working with a lot of constraints.
It was, and every job has constraints, but we really, I want the cheapest 9 that you can put in, and you say there is no such thing. We can be cost efficient around this area and this area, but you really don't want to cut corners here and
You
here.
don't want to be cheap.
So that's exactly right. So Bob was a lot of fun to work with and got a really nice 9. It's still up there today, and it's very complimentary to my granddad's 9, overlooking Crystal Lake, on the other end of the lake from Crystal Downs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, what are some of the similarities in your design and construction philosophy to your granddad's?
Both my granddad and my Uncle Jerry designed for the masses. The average golfer is an 18 to a 22 handicap.
Okay.
Pete Dye designed for the better golfer. His golf courses are built for the scratch and pro golfer.
Interesting.
Our golf courses are designed with the masses in mind. My granddad thought the most money that you could make on a golf course is putting the most people on there, and the most of them are a higher handicap. So, and it comes from positioning bunkers,
Okay.
setting off bunkers on the greens, not making it overly difficult. But you want steep and deep. It's very exciting. If you look at Arcadia Bluffs, everything's steep and deep.
You're talking
It's a
about
very
bunkers, steep and
yep,
deep, yeah.
everything. It's a very pretty golf course. So you've got to have some challenges in there. Everybody wants a challenge. Everybody wants it aesthetic. So you've got to get that perfect blend to get the maximum on the players.
You're talking about bunkers, and it's always interesting watching golf on TV because people are commenting saying, "Oh no, he's in the bunker," but good golfers don't really have that much trouble with shots out of bunkers.
Good golfers would rather be in the sand. An average to a poor golfer doesn't want to be in the sand at all.
Okay.
The easiest thing you can do is put water. Once they hit it in the water, the ball's gone. They just put down another one and keep going. So, ponds are easy.
But you could hit quite a few shots trying to get out of a really steep bunker.
Bunkers and long grass. You've got to be very cautious on bunkers and long grass.
Well, Bruce, it's been fun hearing about the Matthews family and especially your grandfather, W. Bruce Matthews the first.